Hey everyone, sorry, but this episode was kind of early because the area that I'm in is gonna freeze on Friday, and I might not be able to post it because the internet might go out. And I live inside a state that's very, very southern, and we were among some of the states where we absolutely keeled over once it snowed 1 inch. So yeah, I just wanted to get this one out here now instead of being late on Friday whenever the power goes out. So anyway, bye! Just, explaining why this is suddenly popping out of nowhere. Sorry if this, threw off your schedule, but here it is. Woo! Early. The first thing he did after escaping death was fall to his knees and throw up. Gregory coughed weakly, unable to breathe, hands on the floor on either side of the mess, gulping down the stinking air of the trash compactor. The entire world shook. He was still being assaulted by wave after wave of adrenaline, the horrific sight of Chica's broken body searing through his eyes, hammering white-hot nails into his skull. He could hardly believe that he was still breathing, still thinking. He stayed on the floor for quite a while, insides shuddering with repulsion, nerves shot. He was alive. He was alive. Somehow. His body grew heavy, his insides drained and hollow. He leaned back against the wall, staring blankly at the dark ceiling, brain buzzing like a hive full of angry hornets. "Gregory?" A nearly muted voice called from his Fazwatch, an entire lifetime away. "Gregory, are you okay? Please respond!" Freddy, right. A world existed outside this kitchen. Gregory tapped the Fazwatch, trying to speak.
She died.
A stream of strange noises came instead, ending in a sob. "Are you okay, Gregory?" Freddy repeated. "Please!" His stomach balled up into a knot of lead. She chased me," he cried. "What?" Chica attacked me," Gregory told him. She tried to kill me." "What?" Freddy's voice was watered with both worry and bewilderment. "No, she wouldn't do that. You are mistaken. It's against our programming to—" "I don't care!" Gregory yelled, slamming a tiny fist down onto the gritty concrete. "I don't care what your stupid programming says! That crazy robot just tried to kill me!" He stopped, snapping his mouth shut, another wave of dizziness coming. A silence passed between them, rippling of uncomfortable heat. Regret returned through the cloud of numbness. I'm sorry, sir," Gregory corrected, the fear stronger than ever. "I'm so sorry, but please don't hurt me. I was just—" "No, that's okay," Freddy told him, voice wobbling unsteadily. I should be sorry. She might be experiencing a malfunction. I'm sorry for not believing you before. I should have taken your fear more seriously." That was absolutely not the harsh retaliation he had been expecting. "Really?" Gregory stammered dumbly. Nobody had ever listened to him before. "Yes," Freddy said. Just take your time to recover. You'll be okay now. She's not chasing you right now, is she?" Gregory tensed. "No? Where is she?" Gregory wanted to lie, but somehow the traces of confusion at his apology stopped him. She fell into the garbage compactor," Gregory told him slowly. "Is she okay?" That he was less motivated to tell the truth on. Paranoia whispered to him. Sure, Freddy was being nice, but Chica was a part of his family. If he knew what he had done to her... "Yeah, she's just stuck down there now," Gregory said. "Oh, well that's okay," Freddy said, sounding relieved. "That happens all the time. Employees will know to get her out by morning. Return to me whenever you feel well enough, okay?" Gregory closed his eyes, leaning back, still panting with a ragged throat. He waited for his heartbeat to slow into a more reasonable pace. Sweat soaked his clothes, every muscle sore, unable to stop shaking. He couldn't see Chica from this angle, behind the control panel. He didn't want to. Fear crept up on him, forcing him to stand, bracing against the wall. He peeked around the panel, every muscle tensing again as his gaze fell on Chica's remains. She was motionless on the floor, contorted into an impossible position, the place where her beak used to be, gaping dark beneath her grayed-out eyes. She'd been caught on her side whenever the ceiling had crushed her shoulders smashed into an unnatural angle, one of her shattered legs almost entirely indistinguishable from the stinking mess of the trash that she was lying in. Another wave of nausea pushed up through him, forcing him to look away, holding onto the panel for balance. Where are you? Gregory asked once he was ready. I'm hiding in the arcade's male restroom, Freddie told him. I was thinking of where to hide from Vanessa. It's against her programming, her human instincts to enter the male restroom? Is that how that works? A bit delirious, Gregory found himself laughing. Yeah, that's... sure. Gregory turned his gaze back to Chica's body, the laughter fading. He spotted a crumpled soda can only a few feet away. He leaned down, picking it up, and tossed it at her, hiding behind the panel as it clattered against her shell. Gregory leaned back out. She was quiet. So, he slowly climbed up the stairs, leaving her behind. Each step was a struggle, the exhaustion of the night already weighing down on him. With the adrenaline dying down, the pains in his body were returning to him, a thudding pressure that had infected every cell in his body. He felt sickened with fatigue, limbs hollow and skin drenched of sweat. Strands of his frayed hair stuck to his face as splattered gunks of trash, the back of his throat stinging with the traces of his own bile. He was already tired enough to quit, and he still had 2 more areas to go. Hooray. He passed the kitchen, closing the oven full of half the pizza that he had left behind, turning it off. Once he made it to the party rooms, he really thought that everything would be fine. He left, out into the lobby, the stench of garbage finally retreating, letting him go. The moment the door to Chica's kitchen swung shut behind him, he stopped. Footsteps echoed through the dark lobby. Large, clunking footsteps. No, he whimpered weakly to nobody. No, please, I can't. He was hidden beneath the nearest trash can before finishing that thought, his heart already kicking up the pace, pounding with each step. Freddie asked something, but the watch was too far from his ear to hear, still on its lowest volume. Gregory leaned out, trying to see what it was. There, standing in the middle of the main lobby, was the White Rabbit. It was faced away from him right now, bent ears bobbing up and down as it moved, searching. "Freddie!" he whispered hoarsely, back behind the trash can. "Freddie, it's the rabbit! It's back!" He pressed the watch against his ear to hear Freddie's response. "Do not panic. Stay where you are. I'll come to you." Gregory nodded to the empty air, swallowing down the stinging saliva that had gathered in his mouth, lungs still scraped raw from screaming. He felt like he was connected to restraints that yanked him to the floor, every part of him too heavy to carry on his own. He couldn't do this. He couldn't take this. He was too tired. He folded his hands across his mouth, trying to slow down his breathing, listening to the light footsteps. Just stay put, stay quiet. For a while, the White Rabbit only seemed to wander around the lobby, to the left, then the right, making circles around the place. And, soon enough, 2 more footsteps joined her, coming from the arcade. Freddie's urgent steps clunked on the floor, stopping every few meters before going again. Then, turning to see what was happening, Gregory realized the flaw in their plan. Freddie was peeking out of the arcade, casting his comet-colored gaze around, finding nothing. But the White Rabbit was right beside him, watching him with its murderous eyes, standing calm and quiet. He was staring right through her as he left the arcade, hurrying towards Chica's kitchen. A cold drop trickled down his back. The White Rabbit was following him. Gregory leaped to his feet, hissing as quietly as he could to the fat watch. Freddie, stop! It's behind you! Freddie stopped, whirling around. The White Rabbit came to a halt, too, staring blankly at him. He looked around in confusion. Where? His message said, not speaking aloud this time. Don't come to me, Gregory whispered, backing away to the outside of the attractions, eyes still on where Freddie stood. Go to Roxy's place or something. Gregory nodded, straightening up, changing direction. He left Gregory's view, but the white rabbit didn't follow, a tilt to its glinting metal head. It was thinking, watching. Then its gaze pivoted around, looking him right in the eye. Gregory snapped behind the counter, holding his breath. Freddy's footsteps wandered away. The white rabbit started again, heading directly for him. Dread yanked at him. He didn't want to run or hide anymore. He just wanted to fall to the floor and cry. Self-preservation frightened him into action, though. He didn't have time to rest. If he died out here, all that was for nothing. Gregory clamped a hold of his worn-out body and forced himself to steer away, rounding concession stands and prize counters, trying to put as much distance as he could between him and the white rabbit. "Is it following me?" Freddy asked. "No, it's coming for me now," Gregory whispered, lips tightening over each frantic breath. "Where do I go?" "Hide," Freddy said. "Find a place to hide and be still." The urgency in his tone scared him even more. Gregory weaved around several rows of chip bags and t-shirts, running, trying to keep his uneven footsteps quiet. His shoeless foot caught on a cord, sending him slapping to a stop on the cold tiles. He caught sight of something, a dark place. A desk, the space beneath the counter, hidden behind a rolling chair. Gregory scrambled for that, squeezing around the rolling chair, tucking into the crisscrossing shadows. He screwed his eyes shut tight, holding his breath again, the frail grip on his emotions beginning to slip. "Hidden," he squeaked out as quiet as he could manage, whispers fading in and out of his raw throat. "I'm hidden." "Be still, Gregory," Freddy repeated, his promises feeling emptier than ever. "You will be okay. I'm coming to get you. Just hide and be still." Gregory couldn't respond. The white rabbit was too close already. Panic began to rise in him, his body trembling awfully in response, the pressure building in his chest until he wanted to scream. It was over. Freddy wasn't going to make it to him in time. He'd get caught and die, and nobody would ever know about... The white rabbit's shadow slithered up on the far wall, outlined by the dull moonlight filtering from the glass ceiling. Its silhouette slowed down, perked ears flopping as its head rotated about. "Go past," he pleaded in his head. "Keep going." Its footsteps slowed to a stop. Adrenaline surged through him. He couldn't take this. He couldn't. Gregory shut his eyes, praying for it to move along, to pass. Please, please. It stood there for far too long. He couldn't breathe. He had to. Please, he had to. He couldn't. Something touched the top of his desk. A scream was building in his throat, trying to kick its way out, wanting him to burst into tears and do something, anything, except hide for a moment longer. His mouth opened silently. His throat shuddered. Scream, cry, do something. No, stay quiet, stay. Just as Gregory began to lose his grip, Freddy's voice called out on the other end of Chica's attraction. "Gregory, over here!" That was his real voice, on his person. The voice right beside his ear, coming from the Fazwatch, contradicted it with, "Do not move. Be still. Do not move," repeating the instruction again and again in a solid line. Gregory drew strength from that, holding on as long as he could, keeping his teeth clamped shut, windpipe closed tight. The rabbit's shadow turned, watching whatever Freddy was doing over there. The bulky animatronic slid to a clanking stop, knocking something over before darting away across the lobby. The white rabbit abandoned the desk, bounding off to follow him. Gregory slowly released his breath, the scream dying into a faint sigh. A light-headed fuzz had taken over his brain, the world teetering as if it was hanging off a rickety bridge. He was so tired. He just wanted the night to end already. Gregory stared blankly past the rolling chair to the blank wall behind it, listening as both their footsteps faded away, deeper into the pizzaplex. Once he was alone, Freddy's voice returned on the watch. "Great job, you did so well," he said, the ends of his words wavering with worry. "I think it's following me. I'll try to lose it. Just stay where you are. You've done an incredible job." "Thank you, sir," Gregory breathed, warily proud from his praise. "I'm going to return to the lobby once I think I've lost it," Freddy said. "You'll have to look and see if it's still following me. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir," Gregory said. I'm sorry for all this trouble." No, don't apologize. You've done amazing," Freddy said, his only source of strength at this point. "You are so brave. I'm very proud of you, superstar." Gregory was left alone, the warmth still filling him with relief. Maybe Freddy really meant it whenever he said he'd keep him safe. A part of him wanted to argue against that feeling, still worried that Freddy could betray him at any moment. But for some reason, he didn't believe it as much. Or, at least, he didn't want to believe it. Gregory leaned his head against the side of the desk, letting his sticky eyes droop shut. Freddy's voice made him feel safe, even though he was nowhere near him. It was an emotion that he wasn't used to. It felt nice. He waited for Freddy in near silence, nothing but the air vents and his own slowing heartbeat to keep him company. Finally, Freddy's footsteps returned, padding out into the main lobby. Gregory crawled out from beneath the desk space, accidentally bumping his head as he straightened up, peeking around the sides. Freddy's silhouette wandered into the lobby again, outlined in flickers of silvery moonlight. The white rabbit was nowhere in sight. "Okay, it's gone," Gregory said to the Fazwatch. Freddy sighed in relief, saying in the messages, "Good. You can come to me now. It should be lost in the auditorium somewhere." Gregory stumbled out into the open, catching Freddy's attention, who waved and hurried over to him. "Oh, thank goodness that's over," Freddy said, using his normal voice box now. "Are you all right?" He reached out to Gregory, giving him a tight hug. Gregory yelped at first, making Freddy let go. "Oh, sorry, did I hurt you?" he said, drawing back. No, it's just... I'm really tired right now," Gregory said, reaching to him again. He sank into Freddy's soft embrace, willingly, wishing that he could hide away from the entire world if he just buried himself far enough into his warm fur. "I'm so sorry about Chica," Freddy told him as he released him. I really don't know what got into her. She shouldn't have...
What? Hey!
The screechy voice brought back the fear. Gregory was hidden by Freddy's trunk-like legs for now, but he didn't need to see past him to know who it was. Without a word, Freddy grabbed Gregory, opening up his riding compartment, and shoved him inside. The tight walls closed in, locking him up into complete darkness. Gregory suppressed a yelp. He was feeling better around Freddy, but he was probably never going to feel okay with being stored inside his mechanical inner workings, whether it was safe or not. He tried not to squirm around, calming the violent spasms his body was trying to perform, taking a hold of his breathing once more. He was safe. It was scary, but he was safe in here. Freddy turned, greeting the approaching person as casually as he could manage. "Oh, hello, Moon. Why are you out so late?"
I was about to ask you the same thing!
Moon advanced on Freddy, his hooks ticking against one another in spastic irritation. Gregory peeked through the viewing feed, witnessing what Freddy saw again. Out in the open, Moon wasn't any less intimidating. His dark midnight colors melted him into the shadows, long nightcap jingling as its tip lashed back and forth, like the tail of an angry cat. The thin animatronic stood shorter than Freddy, only about a head lower, but appeared much smaller beside the hefty bear due to his spindly, stick-like body. Despite that, the way that Moon held the sharp wires sprouting from his wrists was enough to make Gregory flinch back. Moon stopped in front of Freddy, growling, "Why did you think it was necessary to kick me down the slide?" Freddy replied. You were trying to hurt that child. I was stopping you."
That thing wasn't a child!"
Moon sighed, throwing his strange arms up. "Why do you think I was chasing him? He's not in the database, and he took off the moment I asked if he was a Fafton." "Oh," Freddy said, his fake confusion giving way to real confusion. Are you sure?"
"Yeah, I'm sure," Moon said, insisting. "I am not crazy! Stop calling me paranoid!"
I didn't," Freddy tried.
"So where did he go, huh?"
Moon interrupted. The child ran off after I pulled him up," Freddy said. "I'm looking for him right now."
No,
he stammered out, holding his head. No. Moon's cap slithered over his back, the bell flicking in a more spastic manner now. "What? What's wrong?" You might have just killed Fanny," Moon said, voice hitching painfully at the end. "What? What are you talking about?" Freddy stepped back, a shiver racking through Gregory's hiding place. Is she... I tried to go get her, to tell her that something's loose," Moon said, stammering worse than ever now in the ringing distress. She wasn't in her office. I can't find her anywhere. A disturbance shifted through the world. Gregory had no idea what to think of that. She might be hurt, Moon went on, the hooks scraping against each other, his eternal terror building. We have to find out where that thing took her. I don't care if morning comes. We are not stopping until we find it. He cut off abruptly, shouting to nobody. No, shut up. I am not crazy. It's gonna find them and strangle them or crush them and... He turned back to Freddy, shaking his head roughly. His eyes were full of such awful, overwhelming panic, it almost made Gregory feel sorry for him. Moon's voice began to fracture at the edges as he cried to Freddy. If that thing does anything to my kids... Oh, I'm sure your kids will be okay, Freddy said, reaching out to help bring Moon down from the growing storm of anxiety. We'll find out what's going on before having to worry about morning. I'll help search. I can check my arcade. Yeah. Moon stepped away, his eye twitching violently against another shiver that racked his form. I'm checking DJ's tunnels. If it got in there, it'll be able to get everywhere. Moon sped away, his jangling footsteps leaving to the middle of the room and jumping nimbly into the pit. There were clanks and a sliding hiss as the tubes opened, letting the small animatronic enter, sliding shut behind him. Freddy stayed where he was, staring after where Moon had disappeared. His metal paws fiddled with his golden necklace, feet shuffling unsteadily against the tiles. Eventually, he said, All right, I think he's gone. Freddy opened up, carefully lowering Gregory to the floor. Gregory adjusted to standing again, watching DJ's station. It was the pit that they had hidden in before, the one with the glass tunnel. This time, though, it was empty. Freddy? Gregory said. Wasn't the DJ guy there the last time we were here? Freddy said, following his gaze. Yes. The empty tubes laid in plain view, the giant animatronic nowhere to be seen. Dread began to grow deep inside of him, imagining the thumping of feet padding over the walls, just out of sight, watching through the glassy passages. You should get to Roxy's area, Freddy said, pushing him away from the empty tunnel. We need to get you out of here quickly. I fear that something else is going on. Something pinged steadily at the back of Gregory's head, again and again. He was scared of speaking up at first. The theory felt silly. But still, it was itching too bad to ignore. Freddy, he began slowly, do you think that Vanessa could be the White Rabbit? Freddy came to an abrupt halt. Gregory immediately regretted it, snapping his gaze to the floor. Sorry, sir. No, go on, Freddy said, leaning to try and meet his eyes. She snuck the chip into you, Gregory listed off, and she's gone now, right whenever the rabbit almost found us. She's the only person in the building besides you guys. Noticing Freddy's increasingly injured look, Gregory cut his words off. He returned his gaze to his feet, arms held stiffly at his sides. I'm sorry. Never mind. No, it's okay for you to have ideas, Freddy reassured. But I don't think Vanessa would be the rabbit that you saw. Was the rabbit a suit or an animatronic? Gregory thought for a moment, uncertain. I don't know. I couldn't tell. If it was a suit, I don't think Vanessa would wear a rabbit costume to look for you, Freddy rationalized. And besides, how would she be invisible to me but not to you? Maybe the rabbit gave her the chip, and she didn't know what it was, and now the rabbit took her to keep her quiet? Somehow, even that excuse didn't seem to ease Freddy's worries. I trust Vanessa, Freddy said. I don't think she has anything to do with this. She's a little rude sometimes, but she's not plotting anything. Gregory held his tongue, nodding to the floor. Freddy recoiled from whatever thoughts that he was trying to arrange, instead turning his attention firmly to, You don't have to worry about that, though. Just go in and complete Roxy's laser tag arena. I'll search for Vanessa while you do that. Dread crept up Gregory's body, like a cold cave being flooded with water. He stared up at his next circle of hell, Roxy's attractions. There were mostly prizes hung up on her stands, things to win in exchange for points in arena games. There were plushy versions of her and the other characters, laser tag guns with soft foam pellets rather than lasers, face painting stations of neon patterns that would glow in the dark. And there, looming above them, was the image of Roxy holding a blaster, sharp canine teeth glinting with a challenging smirk. In any other situation, it would look cool. Now, though, he just felt like he was going to throw up again. "Don't worry about Roxy," Freddy told him. Just because Chica was malfunctioning doesn't mean Roxy will. She's a little sensitive, but I'm sure that she won't hurt you." Doubt returned, stronger than ever. "Yeah, sure." Gregory nodded along, walking down the aisle to her entrance, doom growing with every step. This must be what it's like to be on death row. "She could probably play with you, actually. You need at least 2 players to complete a match." Gregory stopped. "Wait, I have to beat Roxy?" "Oh, you don't have to win," Freddy clarified. "Just go through a round and it'll unlock." "Oh, well, that's good, I guess." Gregory sighed, only a little comforted by that. "Good luck, superstar," Freddy told him. "Just play nice." "Right," he nodded, putting his hand on the star-painted door of the arena. Gregory took a moment to collect himself. His entire body was still tingling from the most recent events, wanting nothing more than just to curl up into a ball and sleep for a year. He did not feel ready for this. Not at all. Eventually, he somehow found the strength to open the door and enter. It swung shut behind him with a final damning clank, like the lid of a coffin being closed for the last time. He found himself in a thin rectangular room, the walls lined with sets of laser tag vests, each one connected by a wire to the blaster, waiting to be used. "Hello, new players!" The voice made him cry out, staggering back. It took him an embarrassing length of time to discover that it was only a staff bot, stationed on the far left wall. Its bulky wheels were locked in place, humanoid figure stiff and clunky. Its white pupils had a star shape to them. After taking a moment to scan him, it turned its head to stare at the inner wall. "There is one player waiting for you," the staff bot told him, robotic voice about as dull as he felt at the moment. "Are you ready to take them on in a battle to the death?" "No." It continued anyway, with growing irritation. "Great. Before we begin this legendary battle, I must inform you of our 2 rules. Rule number 1, no running, no climbing, no jumping, no hitting, kicking, pushing, or shoving. No shooting blasters into the eyes of the Roxanne Fox animatronic. You will be held responsible for any damage done to her sensory receptors and will need to pay for the cost of the repairs. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for any accidents that may occur in response to Roxanne being shot in the eyes." Gregory could hardly think right now. "Rule number 2, have fun," it finished. "Please choose a vest before entering the arena. Click confirm when all players are ready." The star-shaped pupils reminded him of something that he had heard of before. The staff bots could apparently see through the walls of the Pizzaplex. For this staff bot, the handy ability was used to count the players in the arena without moving an inch. For others, it was a way to locate disturbances and converge at certain spots whenever they needed help cleaning a particularly ugly mess. It was a bit creepy to be reminded of it, but Gregory decided to shove that thought away for later. The staff bots were way less likely to attack him than the animatronic characters. Even if they did, he was pretty sure that he could push them over and escape. They looked about as dangerous as vacuums. Gregory approached the nearest vest. Then he stopped, every cell in his being screaming at him to not do this, to do anything but this. If Roxy was going to be anything like Chica. Gregory whimpered to himself, forcing himself to put his hands on the vest, to start strapping it on, registering himself as the second player. Every step numb, he approached the confirm button beside the entrance to the arena. It was decorated with bright neon streaks that burst from it, imitating the lasers that he was no doubt about to put to use. Again, he hesitated, the terror creeping up his legs. "Freddy," he said to the Fazwatch. "Freddy, I don't want to do this. I'm scared." "Don't be scared," Freddy told him calmly. "All you have to do is play a round of her. She'd be happy to do so. Roxy won't hurt you." "But
What if she does? He squeaked. You're gonna be okay, Freddy said eventually. I'll be right here if you need me, but I'm certain that you can do this. You've done so well already, Superstar. If anyone can do it, it's you. Gregory wanted to draw strength from his words. He really, really wanted to. But when he lowered the fast watch from his ear, instead placing his hand on the doors, he didn't have a dent in his rising fears. Still, he had to. Gregory took in a breath, held it. Just don't think about it. He opened the door and stepped inside. Incident report. This one doesn't have a specific date, as the build-up to it has been happening for weeks, but we found out about it on September 14th, 2075. For at least a month before that date, the kids playing in the laser tag arena began to make it a game to pull Roxy's tail whenever possible. At first it was just a small group of children, but as the days went by, more and more began to tug on her tail, which eventually began to damage her spine and make fast movements painful. They started to mock her abilities in the laser tag arena and ganged up on her during matches to ensure that she loses, teasing her relentlessly. Others criticized her appearance, a few of the older teenagers even pretending to hit on her just as a joke to hurt her feelings. On September 14th, when a group of boys made it a game to see how many tugs that they could get in while surrounding her and blocking her way out, Roxy finally burst into tears and climbed the arena walls to escape, breaking the rules. She was found 45 minutes later in her room with Chica, crying to her about the entire situation. But, most distressing of all, Roxy had apparently been biting her wrists before Chica found her, and managed to entirely chew off her right hand. Chica told the technicians what happened and they fixed her injuries, but luckily whatever Chica had told her helped Roxy out. The next time the children tried to pull on her tail, Roxy was able to stand up for herself and give them a stern talking to. It took a few weeks, but eventually Roxy grew in confidence and said that she didn't need any more intervention from her manager, and that she had it handled. Assessment. Roxy's programming was put out of sorts from losing many matches in a row, and thought that there was an error in her design. Studded wristbands will be added to arms to discourage biting. Need upgrades so she can retire difficulty settings. A good sign is that Roxy didn't retaliate physically. Her safety protocols probably saved us a lot of trouble. Many of the animatronics have had similar experiences with the children bullying them just for the heck of it. We'll add rules to not pick on the animatronics. We should threaten banning them if they don't stop. Victor Miller. Patch requests. Son needs bells on his wrist and feet to help guide blind children. Roxy's new claws grazed a child across the forehead. Her claws need to be dulled and retractable. Hey everyone, this one was another sort of break chapter in between intense chapters, because we're going to be getting on to Roxy next, but in this one we got to see a little bit of Moon and a little bit of Annie, and so yeah, I hope it was okay. I'm still going to be able to post the next episode next Friday, so yeah, things are still going well. You don't need to worry about a hiatus just yet. Thank you for watching, bye!